What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Goddess Z, here with another podcast episode. I hope everybody has been taking care of themselves, mind, body, and spirit, because that is what it is all about. When any one of those are out of integration, then we are out of balance, and we want to try to remain in balance as much as possible to be able to navigate this spirit realm. Okay. So if you are new to this podcast, welcome. Be sure to follow me, hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. If you are coming back, welcome back. I appreciate each and every one of you. And like I promised before, I will be bringing these podcast episodes to you more frequently, more regularly. And I've also been incorporating some other things. So if you don't know me, and if you do know me, then you know I like to get some business out of the way before we even jump into today's topic. And I like to let you guys know where you can follow me. All of that information be down in the description. And I am all over the place. I'm mostly on TikTok and on YouTube. And of course, on podcasts, you can find me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, YouTube Podcasts, anywhere pretty much where podcasts are. I'm on some of the smaller platforms as well. And that's going to be Holistic and Spiritual AF. Okay. And also, if you like the video version of this, I do have the video version of this on Spotify as well as YouTube. That should be coming up. I'll be uploading those as well. So, with that being said, you can also find me on social media. I'm on TikTok, like I said, the most. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook a little less regularly, but I do try to keep myself somewhat frequent on that. And that's also at Holistic and Spiritual AF. So, everything is branded the way that it's supposed to be branded. Some new news that I talked about on the last podcast episode is I have just released a book, and that book was actually inspired by one of the podcast episodes, and that is The 5 Stages of Shadow Work. So, you can get that on Amazon and Kindle right now. I'm in the process of working on getting that in some other locations. Also, you can get that on my website. That link will be down in the description as well. Okay. So your girl has just a lot of energy moving. Like if you kind of follow this podcast and go back to some of the older episodes, I think I started this in 2022, and where my life was at that time was completely different than it is today. I'm talking about night and day difference. I was going through a tremendous amount of spiritual overhauling. I was very in tune with my ancestors. I was really getting really drawn and back into the connection of source and great energy. So there was a tremendous amount of things that needed to be changed. And one of the things that my ancestors urged me to do was to start this podcast. And so that's what I did. I had no idea what I was doing it for and where I was going with it. But my ancestor said, "You're a storyteller. Your story is powerful. Your words are powerful, and you can impact people to be able to heal trauma, particularly generational trauma, on a deeper level, on a cellular level, starting with ourselves." And so that is what most of my podcasts and my social media content, as well as books and writings, are about. It's my personal experience and how I've come from a place of trauma to empowerment. Now, I do think it's important with some of the information that's coming out to make this disclaimer. I am not a therapist in any sort of a way. I do not have any kind of a PhD in psychotherapy or anything like that. However, I am someone who has experienced a lot of trauma in my life and was able to get to the other side of it through things like this. Healing, energy healing, and lots of different energy work that I did, because I wasn't somebody who was able to stay consistently in like therapy work. Now, if you're able to do that, I would definitely encourage doing that in conjunction with your self-development, your spiritual development. It's all intertwined, that mind, body, spirit integration. So don't stop that for the other. If you're able to do that, definitely keep it going. But I know for a lot of people, particularly people of the African diaspora, therapy is not really an option for them. They don't have access to insurance. They just have never even thought about it. For the longest, Black people were going to church for all of their issues. Okay. So, me, I've been on this journey for 20 years now. Okay. I'm dating myself, but I started like at the top of my adulthood, and I had, kick started my life with a tremendous amount of trauma already stored up until that point. And I'm so grateful that I got into holistic and spiritual practices, because throughout that amount of time, I've done a tremendous amount of work to be able to heal past some of the trauma that I went through. And in the process, I realized that I'm not the only one. I was like, a lot of us have gone through things and we're stuck and we have these behaviors, and we're passing things on to our kids and we don't know why. And, some people want to be out of that cycle and they want to create something new. And so this is why I do what I do. I'm passionate about it. I'm very strongly believe and know actually that is part of my purpose and why my spirit returned. I have some inside track knowledge that let me know that right around this time at my age, I would get to a place where I would do what it is that I'm doing. And so the podcast is the beginning of that. The book is the beginning of that, and all of the things that come from that. And soon we'll be having classes and workshops and going into retreats. I know that in my inner being. Okay. So, anyway, with all of that chattiness being said, I just wanted to kind of let you guys know who I am and why it is that I do what I do if you haven't heard any of the previous episodes before jumping into today's topic. So today's topic is going to be, do you trust your intuition? Okay, I'm going back to the basics, and the basics are also so important and foundational because the basics a lot of times they're going to be with you the whole entire time. So with that being said, do you trust your intuition? I asked that question because it's so rooted in everything when it comes to healing, when it comes to energy work, and it's rooted into who we are as spirits having a human experience. Okay, intuition is something that we have come with. It's not something that you get along the journey. It's something that you already have. It's something that you're able to strengthen along the journey. It's kind of like a muscle that if you don't work that muscle out, then your body begins to atrophy or it gets fat around it and it becomes less useful. However, if you exercise, then that muscle becomes stronger and stronger and you're able to utilize it faster and better. And so that's the same thing with intuition. So our intuition was with us as children, from the earliest times that we can remember. We've all had a internal spiritual realm. I'm not the only one. It's just as we get older and responsibilities become more and more, and causes and effects of things that have happened to us and the things in our choices and behaviors, we kind of start to blot that out. Okay. And then a lot of times our intuition is muddied with emotion and other things like that are not exactly the true intuition. Okay. So I wanted to ask, do you trust your intuition? And I think for most people, first of all, put that down in the Q&A. If you trust your intuition, why? If you don't, why not? That'd be an interesting topic to, address. But I think for most of us, it's a yes and a no. Sometimes when it's convenient, sometimes we trust what we think is our intuition and we're wrong because that's not our intuition. We're moving on emotions, okay? So we're going to talk about how it is that you can begin to trust your intuition every single time. And myself included, I had so much going on, like, in the beginning of my journey. And as I started navigating through all these different places, through Reiki and through, traditional African spirituality and to Tantra and to Qigong and all of that, it was just so much coming at me. I was always second guessing myself and I was always questioning myself. And a lot of that had to do with the trauma of not feeling good enough, not being able to trust what it is that's coming from my higher self and my spirit. So I would go through all of this work and then sometimes I would trust my intuition, but it wouldn't work out the way that I wanted to. And I would be like, damn, then I couldn't trust myself, or I was constantly running tarot cards, or I was going to run to get readings all the time. And because I would get the answers and I didn't trust that that was right. And one thing that I used to hear all the time, every time I got any type of readings, a lot of times when I ran the tarot, and like I said, I was in tune with my ancestors from a very young age and spirit guides, and I didn't know that until later on. I just knew that I felt comfortable with these entities and these other spirit beings that were walking with me throughout my life, and they were not causing harm or telling me to do weird things. So I trusted them. They had been there for me through some dark times, and they would always say to me, when are you going to realize that everything that you're asking, you already have inside of you? And I hated that answer because I wanted an answer. I wanted a definitive, this is why that happened, or this is what's going to happen next. And that's just not how it works. I think our intuition is supposed to be developed because it allows our spirit to be more enhanced, and our intuition allows us to live more in the spirit realm and less in the human. And of course, you got to do human things. You've got to go to work. You got to take care of the kids. You got to pay bills and things like that. But the more we're connected to our intuition in that inner realm, the more we are inclined to make better choices and decisions for our lives. Okay. So, how can you get to a place where you're trusting your intuition all the time? And I must say, my intuition is much more heightened today. And that's because I added in prayer. Like I said, I added in prayer. I was doing a lot of meditation, and I was doing a lot of manifestation through kind of petition, but I wasn't really connected to source on a regular basis. I mean, I'm able to say that, I wasn't doing like regular prayer on a daily basis, I was connected to my ancestors and my spirit guides, and they are guides along my journey, but they are not the source and great spirit of everything. And so that's what was missing. Once I kind of plugged my intuition and my spirit into source, then things was like, it just like really took off and expanded. And of course, doing that on a daily basis is strengthening that muscle. So now I trust my intuition, and if I go against it, and something doesn't happen the way that I expected, I'm able to see the lesson in that. Okay. So that's the good thing about that too. There isn't no three strikes and you're out, game over. It's like, well, if you didn't listen, you're going to definitely get the lesson, and the lesson is going to help you to be able to listen. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into it. One of the things that you can do to be able to start to trust your intuition on a regular basis, let's just say you're somebody at the beginning of your journey and you're like, well, how do I do that? Okay. One of the first things that I did was is I got in touch with my body. It's very interesting. You're going to have to go outward in order to be able to access that spirit realm, not inward out. You go outward in first, and then you start to express inward out. Okay, so if you want to do something that you got, some sort of consciousness over, is you get in touch with your body. And how do you do that? I did yoga. Yoga was amazing. I thought, oh wow, this is cool. It was like a fad at the time, and I was like, this is cool. Let me go ahead and do this. And I got a lot of peace out of it because yoga has a couple of different components in it. It has breathing exercises in it. It has stillness. It has meditative postures. It has things that will help you to be patient, things that'll know when you're stretching, when you're pushing too far. All of this kind of comes together to help you to be present about what's going on with your body. And to this day, that's one of the things, that's the first thing I know when something is off with my body. I can always tell when something internally is not right, when I'm burning out, when I'm becoming overwhelmed, when I'm becoming mentally stressed. I'm in tune with that kind of stuff. Like intuitively, I'm probably the best with that. When something is off and I can feel it, like, okay, why am I so tired recently? Or I need to have some more water. Or you know what, I haven't been eating properly, or I've been eating too much. Or you know what, I need to start working out again, or I need to start doing yoga again. Like I'm always in tune with that. And it started with yoga. It started with me getting in touch with my body and starting to allow my intuition to tell me what was going on through my body. So that's the number one way that you're going to know, because the interesting thing about that is you're not going to question that. If you get like an intuitive message about something that's going on in your body, you're not going to be like, oh, that's not right. And even if you do push on and say, well, I'm going to keep doing it anyway, like if, say, for instance, it's like you're drinking too much, you need to stop drinking, and you hear that and you don't want to hear it, and you say, okay, well, fuck it, I'm going to keep drinking anyway. And guess what? There's going to be consequences later on, and your body going to start deteriorating until you get to a point where you have to stop drinking, And so that being said, is most people don't like push back when your intuition is talking to your body. So that's one way to start trusting that intuition and start working with that spirit realm, to start allowing that intuition and that inner voice to get louder where you can hear it and you are responding to it. Okay. So that's number one. Number two is going to be listen to your emotions. Okay. So remember what I said, we're going outward in. Okay. So we talked about getting in tune with your body. Now we're talking about getting in tune with your emotional body, getting in tune with your mental body, okay? Why am I so damn mad? Well, what just happened? What triggered that? Why am I feeling this way? Or maybe you walk into a room, like I can walk into a room and I can know when there's not friendlies in there, as I like to call it. Okay. Let's just say I've never met these people before and I walk into a room and the energy is off, honey. Okay. I can feel the energy of the room and I'm like, this is definitely not a group of people that I want to get too close to for a variety of reasons. I may not know exactly what it is right then and there, but almost always something will happen and it'll show me, this is why we kept our distance from these group of people. So just pay attention to your emotions. When your emotions say, don't do that, or you shouldn't go there, or you remember how that made you feel the last time. Your higher self, your inner self, your spirit is giving you messages about how you feel about something. Okay. Now that can be the tricky one, I think, right there. Um, because how many times have we gotten in a relationship? I know I'm not the only one here that has gotten into a relationship, and my ancestors, spirit guides, and intuition always tell me when it's a no. Okay. And I would just be like, okay, I want a healthy relationship. I want a partnership. This is going to be great. I want the guy to look like this. I remember I used to do the list of everything I wanted in a partner, and I would do my list about what it is that I needed in a partner. And this person would come along and they would not be the list. Okay. And I would know that. You know what I'm saying? I would, on the deep inner side of myself, would know. My intuition was like, now this shit ain't gonna work, And my ancestors would double up and second that. They'd be like, yeah, this right here, this is a no. They'll even go so far to be like, okay, go ahead and have your little fun for a little bit, but this right here, this is not the one. This is not going to be the long-term relationship. And I would try to force it. I would try to be like, no, I want this to be what it is. So my emotions is telling me I want that, what you see on Netflix. I want that relationship right there where everything is so perfect and they happy and they communicate well and they share in partnership in every aspect of the word. And this relationship or some of these relationships was definitely not given that. Okay. And it would end up being a hell of a lesson, you know? And I know I'm not the only one on that one, because the more I pushed against what my intuition was telling me, the more the signs became glaring, glaring, glaring. And the relationship would almost get to the side of just being like two people that don't even need to be around each other. Okay. It's like you went from, oh my God, this is the one, to y'all people don't even need to be around each other, let alone in a relationship like that. Okay. So emotions can be tricky because a lot of times we want to do what we want to do. Simple as that. We don't want to listen to what our intuition is telling us, our ancestors, our spirit guides. And because we're free-willed individuals, you can do that. You can go ahead and do that. You have to remember that our ancestors are just guides. They're not going to force you to do nothing. And your intuition and your higher self is trying to give you some guidance as well. But at the end of the day, you're a free-willed spirit having a human experience. So you can go ahead and learn the lessons. How you going to get them? One way or another, you're going to get this lesson. And you can either get it easy or you can get it hard. It's really up to you. For instance, when I was younger, the lessons were a lot harder, and uh, a lot of them in a short period of time. Now that I've gained some experience and wisdom, the lessons are further apart and they're not as boom, like hard headed as, lessons. They're more like deeper internal overall, like, but I still make mistakes and I still go against my intuition, but I'm learning to trust it more and more. And it definitely is a lot more than when I was younger. Okay. So watch out for them emotions, because sometimes the emotions can warn you, give you advice, but at the same time, because of our other emotions, we can go completely against that. So the whole point is just getting in tune. There's no right or wrong, because if you don't get it, you're going to get the lesson. And when you get the lesson, guess what? You're going to remember that. So if you have nothing else, you have the memory imprinted in your DNA that's like, the last time I did that, this happened. So watch out for those emotions. They can be tricky. So number one was getting in tune with your body, okay? Your physical body, and hearing what your intuition has to say about that. You need more sleep. You need more water. You need to have more mental health time. You need to create some balance. Your emotions. When you walk into a room, something feels off. I don't know what it is. Or sometimes when you meet people and you like, I just don't like them. Like, like I don't know why I don't like them, and y'all clash, like, for whatever reason, without even knowing that much about each other, and it's just a bad fit. Or it could be the opposite. It could be like, I really like this person. It's almost like we've known each other for years. That could be somebody that needs to be in your life. um the third one is follow your gut instinct. Okay, literally, like, follow your gut instinct. Your gut instinct is, everybody should know what that is. That's your intuition. That is your intuition. If you're a mom, whether your kids are, no matter how old your children are, once you become a mom, there's an energetic umbilical cord connected to you and your children for life, okay? From this life, from the life before, this life, and the life after. You're always going to be interconnected with your children. They were inside of you, they were in your womb, they shared an umbilical cord inside of there. Once that was done, it was cut, but that energetic umbilical cord was never cut. So if you have little kids or you have grown kids, you're always going to have a gut feeling about that. Like, you can tell when something is off. You know when one of your kids is lying, when one of your kids is in trouble, and you also know when your kids are fine, they're safe. So those types of gut intuition. Now, gut instincts go all the way back to being a kid. You know when you shouldn't do something, but you do it anyway. So part of those lessons is how we learn, but the gut instinct and that intuition has always been there. If your gut instinct is telling you something strongly, like matter of factly, boom, this is it, and it just comes out of nowhere, chances are your intuition is giving you a very clear and precise direction and guidance about something. So try to follow that gut instinct. And how many times have we gone against our gut instinct just to find out, damn, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Damn, you know what? I knew I should have done it that way. You know what? I should have did it this way. And that's that gut instinct saying, hey, intuition here, listen to me next time. Don't go against it. Go with it. You know what I'm saying? Unless your instinct is telling you to do something that's going to cause harm to you or somebody else, it's safe. And that's universal law. Damn near anything goes as long as it doesn't cause harm to you or somebody else. Okay. So that doesn't mean go out here and you hearing voices that's telling you to cause harm to people, then definitely don't listen to that. Go see that therapist and that psychiatrist, like I talked about. Those are different types of voices. That's not your intuition telling you to do anything. That's some other stuff going on. Okay. Once again, disclaimer, I am not a therapist, but I do have common damn sense. Okay. All right. Number 4 is take some time for yourself. Okay. All of this is intertwined. That's what do I say? Mind, body, spirit integration. Okay. Because it's all connected in order for you to be more connected to your inner realm and your spirit. Okay. So you got to take time for yourself. That means you don't have the chatter of other people in your head. Okay. That is a, a damaging ass thing. If you don't ever have time to yourself, all you've got is other people's thoughts, ideas. Girl, you shouldn't do that. If I was you, I would leave him. You need to quit that job. You need to get another job. You shouldn't buy that house. You spending too much money. All you have is other people's thoughts, ideas, and processes inside of your head. You can't hear your intuition. All you hearing is thoughts, okay? And thoughts and intuition are not the same. Intuition is inner knowingness, okay? Coming from a place that can't really be described in English words or in physical ways. There it can start to manifest physically if it's really trying to get your attention and you just can't hear it because it's too quiet. But for the most part, this is an all-knowingness. Like literally, if you are honest with yourself, you know. You may not know how you know, and you can't explain to somebody how you know, but you know, and that's all that matters. And that's why having time to yourself is so important because meditation time, whether it's reading a book, whether it's taking a walk, whatever it is where you're away from outside influences and you're going to be able to hear inside more. I like to walk. Around the park, and when I go around the park, I like those parks that are like nature reserves. Um, and I like it for several reasons. I like it because as soon as I leave my car, I'm usually far off from the road and a lot of the electromagnetic energies. And every time it takes some time, it takes me about halfway through the thing to kind of shake the physical realm. Okay. So I'll start out all busy, go, trying to pop my headphones in and do all of this stuff. But then about halfway down the journey, I slow down. I begin to listen. I see the trees. I feel the breeze. I'm looking at the animals do their thing. And then I start to go into a different space, a more spiritual realm. And sometimes that's hard to do just by being in front of computers all the time. I work in front of computers all day. Being on social media, watching TV. There's nothing wrong with those things, but sometimes you need to just be by yourself because you're also getting the sounds of those things and those ideas. And now all of a sudden you're confused about what your intuition is, or if I saw that on a movie, or I should do that too. Sometimes you can watch stuff and spirit will speak through other people. Don't get me wrong, spirit will speak through other people and will nudge your intuition, because maybe you're not listening to your intuition, and your intuition, like so and so said that. Now all of a sudden it reminded you, yeah, I should be doing that. I said I was going to do that. I don't know why I didn't do that. So that's another way that intuition can show up. But definitely taking time for yourself is going to allow you to hear what you need to hear. Okay. And number 5 is trust yourself. Just try it out. What do you have to lose? Trust yourself. I've got an experience where, once again, anytime that I went against my intuition now, not in the beginning, but now because I know better, and I just decided I was going to do what I wanted to do anyway, or what I thought was best without, any information, or I tried to justify how it was going to work. It ends up costing me dearly, and it's not worth it. I remember there was a time when I ended up making a bad investment. I don't know if I told you guys about the time that I made it to 6 figures. I hit 6 figures, and I was running my own business, and then I was doing marketing. I had a couple streams of income, and I was so proud of myself. I worked really hard to get that, and I had finally hit that 6 figure mark, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to take it to the next level. I'm going to be a millionaire in 3 years. And I ended up getting involved in somebody's coaching program, and they were like, "Oh, it's an investment in you," and I was lost in the sauce. I wasn't seeing the full game of what was supposed to be next. I just was trying to force what I wanted. And they were like, invest X amount of dollars. And it wasn't cheap. It was a lot of money. And I remember my ancestors being like, "No, you shouldn't do that." My intuition was like, not sure about it. That's another thing. If your intuition is in I don't know mode, that means that's not your intuition. That means that that's you. You know what I'm saying? Your intuition is a knowingness, like for sure. And this was like, I don't know, man. Like, like a friend said, I don't know, man. I don't know if you should do that. And my ancestors were like, this isn't a good idea. My ancestors will be straight up like, this does not sound like a good idea. And I ended up getting a reading, and the reading wasn't even about that. It was something else. And they were telling me a lot of stuff I didn't want to hear, really. And then at the very end, they said, "Oh, yeah, and I need to tell you this. There's going to be some people that offer an investment to you, and it's going to be a bad deal. There's some bad people. They're not trustworthy people. You're not going to make any money out of that. Stay away from that." And I was mad. I didn't want to hear that shit because it did not align with what I thought it should be and where I thought I wanted it to be. And I went ahead and did the investment, and I lost a lot of money. And after that, it spiraled, things spiraled in a downward position for about 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Because I did not listen to that. Like, another hell of a lesson. It was expensive. I ended up being somewhere I didn't want to be. It was a nightmare, honestly, for like 2 years. And thank God I made it out of that. But yeah, that was a time that I really should have trusted myself. Myself was telling me, this ain't right. My ancestors was telling me, my gut was saying, I don't know, man. And then I got a reading from somebody else, so spirit was speaking through them, and I still was like, no, I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyway. So that was me trusting myself with all of the freaking signs telling me not to do it, and it cost me dearly. So when you're trusting yourself, you want to make sure you're trusting from that inner place, not that outer place. See, I was so focused on what I thought it should be. I was like, I'm ready to manifest. I'm going to get, the next 3 years, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to push it. I'm going to push it. But that may not have been what was a part of an alignment of my purpose. That wasn't how it was supposed to be. Okay. And so I had to learn a very valuable lesson through that, by trusting myself based on emotions, and doing things the wrong way. Okay. So that will help you to be able to trust yourself by starting from the outside and going in. Once you start trusting your intuition, it'll be like boom, boom. Because when you trust your intuition and things happen exactly the way your intuition said, you start to build more trust. You're like, man, I'm glad I listened to that, And so that's going to help you tremendously to start to be more in your inner body, to be more spirit conscious, to be more intuitive, and to be able to pick up more signs and messages. The more you use it, the better, the better. So it just continues to grow and starts to expand. It'll also help you when you're trying to connect with your ancestors and your spirit guides, because you will have an all-knowing and a more connectedness using your own intuition, because that's the most powerful ori. I mean, your ori and your oracle, that's the most powerful because that's your self-will connected to spirit, and like I said, once I connected my self-will, my intuition to spirit, to source, it was wide open. And I've got a situation now where I need to make a change on something. I'm not going to speak on that just yet. I'll let you guys know when I make the change, and I know it, and I've been knowing it, for about 3 months now. I'm like, okay, you got to go ahead and move on from this is no longer serving you. It's not in alignment with your purpose. It's actually at this point beginning to hinder me from progressing to the next level and the things that I was talking about. But I have somebody who keeps telling me, I think you need to stick it out. I think you need to just wait and see how it's going to be. And so because I have their voice in my mind, that throws that doubt in there. But my intuition, honestly, is telling me what I need to know. So what I've been doing is I've been moving towards, taking the action steps to make that change, and trusting my intuition because I'm getting more unhappy. I know the signs, of going against my intuition, that things start crumbling and crashing down, and I start feeling fucked up, and not feeling like I'm going in the flow of something like, yeah, this is the right decision. I knew I should have done this. This is more like, nah, you should have done this 3 months ago. So that is where I'm at. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. Of course, I would love to see your comments in the Q&A section. First of all, what were the tips we were talking about? Do you trust your intuition? And if you don't, or if you do sometimes, we gave 5 tips as to how you can begin to strengthen that muscle and to be able to be more intuitive and trust your intuition, essentially. So number 1 was get in touch with your body, all right? Number 2 was listen to your emotions. Your emotions are always telling you things, okay? That one's a tricky one, though. Number 3 was follow your gut instinct. Literally, if something is boom, don't do that. Don't do it. Like I wouldn't. I'm the, at this point, I'm the type of person that'd be like, okay, I'm not gonna do it, and I want to see what's gonna happen next. There's been times I've been getting ready to go somewhere, and I'm like, oh, you got to go at this time, and then something's like, no, just wait. Just wait a little bit later. And I wait a little bit later, and I could have missed something that would have caused me, harm along the way. So follow your gut instinct, all right? Number 4, take time for yourself. If you can't hear what's going on inside, then all you hear is what's coming from outside, okay? So take time for yourself so that you can be able to hear your inner realm, all right? And then 5, trust yourself. Don't second guess yourself, okay? Once you start strengthening this muscle, don't be like, no, it can't be like that, and remember that intuition is a all knowingness, okay? You will know, and you will know. So you don't even have to try to convince yourself and your intuition because you already know. All right. So hopefully you guys got something out of that, and I will see you guys on the next episode. Peace.